Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. We're continuing our ACC football predictions today, and our next team was hit with a bunch of injuries en route to a shocking 3-9 season, but it looks like they should get back to competing in the ACC Coastal. They are the North Carolina Tar Heels. North Carolina was hit with tons of injuries last season and was just 1-8 with 3 weeks left to play, and they narrowly escaped with a victory on the road at Pittsburgh for their lone ACC win to finish the season 3-9. But Larry Fedora is an excellent coach, and they had some unfortunate circumstances last year, injuries and a little bit of inexperience. This year, the Tar Heels should be more experienced, and they should have some breaks go their way, and I expect them to be much improved. They have 13 returning starters, 5 on offense, led by Chazz Surratt, a solid quarterback last year who got hurt towards the end of the season. Nathan Elliott had to step in, and the Tar Heels actually played 3 quarterbacks last year in Surratt, Nathan Elliott, and Brandon Harris. But this year, Surratt should be the starter, a little more mobile, great arm strength, a little accurate. So he should be the starter for the Tar Heels, should be able to get them some quality and close wins that they weren't able to get last year. On defense, they returned 8 starters. That is certainly going to be the strength for the Tar Heels this season. I really like their secondary. I think that's going to be their strong suit this year, and that's what's really going to win them games. The play of Surratt and the defense, and I'm a little concerned about their offensive line. They have a little inexperience there, not many returning starters along the line, so they're really going to have to do a lot of work there to protect Surratt, try to keep him in the pocket to make the throws that he needs to do to get the Tar Heels to victory. But overall, should be a very much improved North Carolina team and should get back to a bowl game after what was a very disappointing season last year. They opened the season at California, a really good Power 5 versus Power 5 matchup, ACC versus Pac-12. And last year, California shocked me. I wasn't expecting North Carolina to be so bad, but they shocked me coming in to North Carolina and winning that game 35-30, and North Carolina getting a late touchdown to make it look a little better than it really was. But Justin Wilcox did a great job. I didn't expect much out of the Golden Bears last year, but they went 5-7, just narrowly missing out on a bowl game. And this is a California team that can be dangerous in the Pac-12. They returned 18 starters, including 10 on offense, so 8 on defense, and could be really improved from that 5-7 team and should get back to a bowl game. I was really impressed with the play of their quarterback and Ross Bowers last year. He did a phenomenal job. I think he threw for over 3,000 yards. So I was really impressed with him taking over for Jared Goff, of course. And then you've got Luke Beckett leading the defensive line for the Golden Bears. Should play fairly solid there. And then a strong secondary for the Golden Bears as well. I don't see California, especially with the type of offense they have. North Carolina with the type of offense they have this year. I still think they're going to be solid, but I just don't see them going on the road and getting a win over what's going to be a very, very strong California team. So I'm going to give them another loss to California. So they're going to sweep that home-and-home series there over the Tar Heels. Then they go back on the road to East Carolina, so they don't play a true home game until week 3. But at East Carolina, a team that was really struggled under Scotty Montgomery the past 2 years, going 3-9, needs some big-time improvement under him if he wants to keep his job. East Carolina will be a little bit improved this year, but shouldn't be in much trouble for the Tar Heels. I'm going to give them a win there. And then week 3, they played defending national champions, or at least that's what some people call them. They play Central Florida, led by Josh Heupel, who is going to do a great job coming over as offensive coordinator from Missouri to take the Scott Frost position as he left to take the head coaching job at Nebraska. They return Mackenzie Milton at QB, and that is huge for them. He was one of the better passers in the nation last year. So obviously North Carolina can't afford to overlook this game, despite them being a group of 5 opponent. We saw how good they were last year. They're not going to have another season like they did last year, but will certainly be very explosive on offense. Still, they have 12 returning starters overall. I think North Carolina gets a close win over the Knights in this one, but certainly not a game they can afford to overlook. I still expect Central Florida to be very competitive in the American Athletic, potentially winning that conference once again. So a close game over the defending national champions. And then they play Pittsburgh, their lone ACC win from last year, and that was on the road. So my logic here is if North Carolina can defeat the Pittsburgh team, who wasn't great last year but still managed to upset Miami, if they can beat Pittsburgh on the road last year with the team they had, surely they can beat Pittsburgh at home this year, and I think they will. I think they'll get a win over the Panthers, whose strength is going to be their defense with 9 returning starters there. So this could very well be a defensive battle. North Carolina, a stronger defense, Pittsburgh, a good defense, and 2 young quarterbacks, and Kenny Pickett for Pittsburgh, and then Chazz Surratt for the Tar Heels. But I like North Carolina in this game just because I'm going to give them a slight edge on offense, and then obviously home field advantage playing a role there too. So another win for the Tar Heels there, and they're 3-1 going into a big showdown against Miami. Some are picking Miami to finish first in the Coastal and North Carolina to finish right behind. So this could obviously have a major role in the standings if somehow North Carolina could go on the road and upset the Hurricanes. I just do not see that happening. Miami is going to have a very, very strong defense, much like they did last year. North Carolina hung with the Hurricanes last year, though, only losing by 5 points at home. But this is a Miami team that I think is actually a little bit better than last year. The offense struggled a little bit under Malik Rozier last year, but I think he's going to do a lot better this year. So the offense should be much more improved. The defense is continue to stay dominant, especially in the secondary. Plenty of passing around of the turnover chain. I just don't see North Carolina going on the road and getting a win over what's going to be a very, very tough Miami team who I have only losing once this season. So a loss for the Tar Heels there. Then they get a much-needed bye week coming into Virginia Tech, another team that is constantly solid in this ACC Coastal Division. And will once again be very solid this year, led by Josh Jackson at quarterback and then a Bud Foster defense as well. But they're not going to be as good as they were last year. I believe last year they won 8 or 9 games. I don't expect that to happen this year, and I actually think North Carolina is going to get a win over the Hokies. They have a bye week coming off a loss. They're going to fix any problems that they have. Chazz Surratt, if he is a little shaky at all, which I don't think he will be, by this point in the season will be fairly solid. The offense will start to click, building some chemistry. And this is a Virginia Tech team that's actually going to have a little bit of a weaker defense, I think. Only 5 returning starters on that side of the ball. Still going to be good, no doubt. Still have plenty of talent on that side of the ball. And I think Josh Jackson will not hit a sophomore slump like some people think he will. But it is at home. It is coming off a bye week. This is a much more improved North Carolina team. I think they get a win over the Hokies at home. So a big-time win there in terms of conference standings. Then on the road at Syracuse, and then on the road at Virginia. One of these games is a trap game. I don't see North Carolina winning both of these games. They're going to lose at one of them, and I think they lose at Syracuse. A Syracuse team that I actually kind of like this year, one that I think could potentially get to a bowl game. I like Eric Dungy at quarterback. I like the style of offense that Dino Babers runs. They were somewhat close to a bowl game last year. They went 4-8, but had a couple of net close losses that could have gotten them to 6 wins or maybe more. I think I looked at it. They could have potentially had an 8 or 9 win season last year with the amount of close losses they had. So this is a Syracuse team that returns plenty of talent on both sides of the ball, 8 on offense, 6 on defense. And I think North Carolina goes on the road and loses this game at the Carrier Dome to an Orange team that is certainly looking to get to a bowl game for the first time under Babers. And then they go on the road to Virginia, a team that I really just don't have a lot of high expectations for this year. They surprised me last year by getting to a bowl game. Bronco Mendenhall did a great job in his second year getting them there. But they lose Kurt Benkert at quarterback. The defense, like North Carolina, like Pittsburgh, is going to be their strength for the Cavaliers this season. I just don't see Virginia, despite it being at home, beating this North Carolina team. And Larry Fedora, obviously an excellent coach, a great offensive-minded coach. I just don't see them going on the road and losing this game. So I'm going to give North Carolina a win over the Cavaliers. And that is certainly a big-time win. They've won 2 of their past 3. They return home to play Georgia Tech, a team that really handled North Carolina last year, fairly handily actually. And it obviously, as we all know, runs a style of offense that many consider too simple for college football, yet no one can seem to stop it. And they have a great quarterback once again to fit that offense in Taquan Marshall, who had a great year last year, putting up some big numbers, and I expect to do the same again this year. So if this North Carolina defense isn't ready for this game and can't shut down Marshall, I think Georgia Tech could come in here and steal a win on the road. But I think the defense will be ready. I think they're going to be prepared. They just hit November, the most important month, and I continue to stress that because it is true, and we continue to see crazy upsets and crazy things happen in November. This is the time teams need to really start hitting their stride to push for that conference championship or college football playoff berth. But I think North Carolina gets a win over Georgia Tech at home. I think they're going to be able to shut down the Georgia Tech offense and a Georgia Tech defense that should be a little bit more improved, but not going to be enough to shut down Surratt and the North Carolina offense. So another win at home for the Tar Heels. And then they go on the road to face Duke. I know North Carolina and Duke are very, very close. Just a couple miles separate them. But I think they lose this game at Duke. Yes, it is at Duke, but North Carolina will have a great following there, great fan base there, no worries. But Duke, led by David Cutcliffe, led by Daniel Jones, who had some decent numbers last year as a sophomore, going to be even better as a junior this year. He returns plenty of wide receivers. All of his receivers, including his tight end, are seniors. So you've got a senior-led team, plenty of veterans on the offensive side of the ball, and the defense actually has more returning starters for Duke, and they're going to be a fairly solid team as well with a solid defensive line led by plenty of veterans that have played for the Blue Devils. I just don't like North Carolina's chances in this game on the road at what should be a solid Duke team, and this could could be the game that decides who finishes second in this Coastal Division. So a loss for North Carolina here against the Blue Devils. Should be a close one, but I like Duke and their offense. Play Western Carolina, a little bit of a tune-up there before North Carolina State, rivalry week. Last year, the Wolfpack getting a win over the Tar Heels. It was just a miserable year for the Tar Heels, and North Carolina State had an excellent team. Bradley Chubb on defense, Ryan Finley at quarterback, and Finley returns once again this year and put up some great numbers last year, especially in terms of his completion percentage, leading the Wolfpack to a 9-win season. I don't expect the Wolfpack to put up those type of numbers again this year and that type of record again this year, but I expect them to get back to a bowl game. This game is at North Carolina, though. North Carolina State losing a lot of people on the defensive side of the ball. I don't expect the production to be as high on the offensive side of the ball as it was last year. So I'm going to give North Carolina a win at home against the Wolfpack. And, of course, when it's rivalry week, you want to get revenge on your rival for what happened the year before. And, of course, North Carolina State handling North Carolina last year, getting a win there. North Carolina going to have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, wanting to get a win over the Wolfpack, as every rival wants to do. So home field advantage, a more inexperienced North Carolina State team, revenge, everything's going to contribute to a win there. And that's going to give North Carolina an 8-4 record for 2018. And I think that is nothing to complain about at all from a team that went just 3-9 last year. So obviously Larry Fedora doing a great job coaching this year. Maybe they can get a couple wins to get to a 9-win season. Maybe they can beat Syracuse. Maybe they can beat Duke. I think those are the only two games, in my opinion, that North Carolina could end up pulling off that I have marked down as losses right now. I don't think they're going to go on the road and beat a California team that's going to be really solid this year. I don't see them going on the road and beating Miami. So I think Duke and Syracuse, especially Syracuse, are the only games that I could see North Carolina potentially winning. But right now I'm going to keep them marked down as losses for an 8-4 year, an excellent year for the Tar Heels, another excellent bowl game. Should be a decent bowl game and could get to a 9-win season. So flipping the script from last year's horrendous 3-9 season, as long as they can stay healthy. So, as always, please go check us out on Twitter at Gridiron Expert, also on Instagram at The Gridiron Expert, and always here on YouTube. Please continue to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time on The Gridiron Expert.